Hello, welcome back to another Manga Talks. Today we're going to be doing a manga specific video, which I haven't done for a while, but this will be on Nishi Takerou, who was a horror mangaka, specifically because I finally picked up this Mandarake rental manga reprint. So this series I'm currently collecting. I do have quite a number of them, but I'm waiting for them to kind of all come at the same time before I show them off fully in a haul video, because the series, if you've never seen it, they deserve a separate video. One of the coolest series in my entire collection. Very expensive, the most I've ever paid for books, really, and I don't ever want to do that again. But I wanted to start off with just this one first, because it's a whole new, I guess, season of collecting for me, whole new stage level. But yeah, so Nishi Takerou is a mangaka that I have shown off on the channel before. I did a spotlight video on this in particular. This is Vampire Moth by them, so it is a Lemon Comics release, and this is one of my favorite old or vintage horror books that I have in my collection. It is so detailed, loved it. It's a confusing story, but it was still very interesting. If you want to check out that video and look at the story for it, you can check out my channel. I'll also link it in the description. But just in general, the premise of this one was about a brother who's like obsessed with insects, and he does an experiment that is meant to like give humans the ability to transform, but it goes horribly wrong because, as you can probably tell by the title, he gets like turned into a moth, and then his family is trying to like, you know, navigate that. And there's also like a baby that pops up too, that's a monster, and it's like a whole bunch of things that come through. I was having a little bit of a research thing on it too, and I was trying to find stuff on it. I will put in links in the description, but apparently this Vampire Moth story was inspired from The Fly by George Langelaan. Never heard from it before, but yeah, that's some background. And also, what's really funny is that when I was looking up stuff about this, just Googling stuff, I found a blog that was reviewing this manga, which is cool and all. But the blog was very cool because it was a blog specifically focused on insect eating. It was an insect eating blog or website. It was back in 2010 that they reviewed this book. So I find it really funny that just from searching this manga, which doesn't really have much about it online, I've found a very niche part. And I think from my memory, the most recent post one was a couple years ago, and that they talk about like insect eating showcases and stuff. It's so it's so interesting. But yeah, so one of my favorite books in my collection for horror manga. And then this one I got recently in a haul that I had shown off on the channel. Haven't read this yet, but this is Ghost Academy, that sort of thing, which don't know anything about the story yet, have yet to read, but I'm very excited for this, some more old horror. But this one I finished recently, and I did want to talk about it because I feel like this series of reprints is just insane. So just a brief explanation of this reprint, because I want to again make a separate video with all the other books, just showcasing what the series is. So this series is called the Mandarake Strange Tales Kashihon reprint series, or rental manga reprint series. And essentially what they do is Mandarake have been releasing, I think since 2016, all these reprints, very, very high quality. So they're like huge books of rental manga, specifically I think more centered on the bizarre horror side, but I don't think it has to be horror from my memory. But a lot of cool artists that I've never heard of before, and otherwise if you want to find the original, then good luck. But anyways, this one is they've actually done two for Nishi Takerou so far. The most recent one, released a couple months ago, I also was able to get that luckily, but cost a lot of money. But these reprints are absolutely insane. The covers are amazing. They have like shiny text and everything. It's just the quality of these reprints are insane. But the one thing that sucks is that they're all limited to around 200 to 250 copies. So the only way I was able to get these were from resellers, and resellers put it at a fucking insane premium. But, you know, I've just been so obsessed with these that I just tanked it and got them because there's only 200 copies. Like, how else? I can't believe as well that there's resellers for these things that are 200 copies. At the same time, I'm not surprised because they are limited, but it just pisses me off. It also pisses me off that Mandarake have only limited it to 250 copies. Like, I don't know how big the market is for it, but if there's resellers, then, you know, there's got to be some indication of demand. But yeah, so that's just a bit of a background on the series. So this specific book has 2 stories, but so we've got Catwoman, and then we've also got The Green Snow is Falling. What's interesting about this and about the series as well, each of the books, the Kashion reprints, they have their own subtitles. So for example, this one is Nishi Takerou's Tale of the Otherworld. And the stories in this are more on the sci-fi side. So what's cool is that they show the original. So this is the original rental manga release of The Green Snow is Falling. This is the original of the Catwoman. I was reading one of the horror blogs that I normally frequent, and it's very interesting because the writing for this, Neko Onna, instead of use like for the Onna, they use like the wo hiragana, which is interesting. Even the blog pointed that out. I'm like, oh, okay, did not notice that at all. So that's pretty cool. So this book came out, it must have been, I don't know the eras. I'll put it in the description anyways. But for this video, I'm going to be going through both the stories. There will be spoilers, so I guess if you read Japanese and you do want to eventually get this, you might want to skip a bit. But what I will do first is I'm going to show off the book, just the vibes of them, talk a bit about them without spoilers, and then I will move into spoiler territory, because my main thing with these is that I want to show them off for those who can't access them because they're limited to 200 copies, so insane. But what we have here, 2 stories. They are more on the sci-fi side. So just looking at a translation of Mandarake's website, just about Nishi Takerou. So having worked for numerous publishers, including, they just list a number of publishers, Nishi Takerou, a rare science fiction horror writer, has produced many masterpieces combining horror, mystery, suspense, and science fiction, utilizing his favorite genre. So now, approximately after 50 years, his works are being reissued in a new package. So I'm not sure where the original works were actually released, but 50 years, I'm going to guess at the late end of 60s, something like that. But it's really cool too, because with rental manga, I always love when they do color because they're usually very vivid. They pop out a lot. And each of these should come with a pamphlet. And it's really interesting because this pamphlet, it has an interview with Nishi Takerou, but also at the back, it has, for anyone interested, a list of all of the rental, well, I don't know if it's all, but a lot of the rental manga that Nishi Takerou has done, and also has done under different pen names. So the ones in the black rows are the pen names. I didn't even know that he had pen names, but again, I didn't really know too much about him. But I will, this is just like an interview between Nishi Takerou and someone else. Excuse me. I guess if anyone is interested. I did read a little bit of this, but hard to understand the references to people because I don't know people. I don't know the mangaka and the artists he's talking about and stuff, so yeah. But this is very valuable. The only thing I wish though was that there was a date on these, but there are no dates. Yeah, there's no dates at all. So there's like the name of the story, the publisher, series type, series name, but yeah, unfortunately not. But fair enough. I mean, it's really hard to get some of these books anyways, so the fact that they reprinted it, I'm really happy about. But to go into spoilerless territory, so the first story, Green Snow is Falling, is centered on a girl who is, or a woman who is thinking back to the time when her friend had just disappeared out of nowhere. And this is them. So this is in the past. They were going on a hiking trip with their brother and friend, but they are suddenly separated from them, and they have to find their way to safety when a blizzard hits. And so they do, but during the blizzard, they take turns to like stay up and keep the fire alive. But one of them, I forgot their names. Let me I have notes for this. Okay, so Rika is the one who's recalling all this. Rika and Kyoko is the girl who disappeared. And so Kyoko, she suddenly out of nowhere starts saying, "Hey, what's that sound? I hear like a machine sound." And she goes out and she says, "Why is there green snow falling?" And Rika goes out and looks and doesn't see that, but she just disappears. And so from that story onwards, we time skip and find that Kyoko has actually come back. And so that is the premise of that one. Wonder what happens when Kyoko comes back, because it's been 2 years. So that's the first story. And then the second story we have is the Catwoman. That one is actually more confusing. It was hard to really figure out the ending of this one. But yeah, Catwoman. We start off the story here where we have this cat who seems to have fallen through a gap in like some dimension thing, like some crack in the universe, something like that. But we have this woman here. She's looking for someone. She stumbles upon a girl who is crying, who has 3 eyes. And so we learn that this is kind of like in the future of humanity, where the sun is no longer shining on Earth. Earth is completely cold. Everyone lives underground. And sometimes I guess you can have these mutations where humans have, well, 3 eyes. And she is shunned from the underground town she lives in because of her mutation. And so what we have is the woman helping her, and they arrive in the underground facility, which I'll show. What does it look like? Yeah, this underground place has an artificial sun. But where does the Catwoman come in? Well, there is a Catman that appears. And so the rest of the story goes and looks at what the connection is between the Catman and this woman here. Why we had that specific start of the story where we have a cat falling through like a gap in the universe. The mystery continues, but that is both of these stories are on the sci-fi side of things, sci-fi horror. So yeah, that will end the just the overview of them. Overall the stories are like okay. I actually do like the first one a lot, the green snows falling, for some parts of it. But it's just a really interesting experience for me because I haven't read much rental manga. And so now this is a new phase in my reading where I've been buying all of these like rental manga reprints that I will read. And I guess it makes sense because it's also curated as well. Like these reprints are taken like this specially selected. So it makes sense for me to start with that because I wouldn't know otherwise where to start with rental manga. And also buying original rental manga is like expensive. I mean, these were also expensive. Some of them, honestly, they were the same price as the originals, which is insane. But otherwise, there's no cheap rental manga, you know? That's the thing. There's more possibility of like finding something cheap with reprints. All right, so let's get started with going through the story and the spoilers. So this is for those who are interested in wanting to know everything that happens. And I do also apologize as well. These books are very heavy. These ones are very like thickly built. All of them, by the way, have like these really cool shiny, I guess, designs on them, and the covers are all these vibrant color schemes too. But what that means is that because they're so thick and sturdy, I can't fully open them, so the view you guys will get will be a little bit more skewed. But I'll do my best because I don't want to damage the book. I don't want to damage the spine or anything because these things were fucking expensive. So let's get started. What I didn't mention at the start though was these stories have their own like subtitles. So this is a part of the series called The Tale of the World's Strangest Things, Volume 8. And the original story was actually by, I don't know how to actually pronounce it, but like Nishi Takerou, maybe, over here. And then the art was drawn by Nishi Takerou. So they're both Nishis. But yeah, so this story is not written by Takerou. So let's start off the story again. We follow Rika's perspective. She recalls the time where Kyoko had disappeared. And I love these color pages so much. I found it really interesting. Sometimes, I don't know why, like whether it was intentional or not. Sometimes Nishi Takerou does this thing where he inverts the colors of the eyes, so like the pupil is white instead. It looks really creepy. But sometimes he does it in scenes that don't require it. So I found it like really funny. Sometimes like this, for example, right? They're just walking. There's nothing scary happening, but their eyes are kind of like this. So I guess it was his style, but he then reverts it back to like what a normal design of the eye is. So it's just funny to notice that about it. But yeah, we're just on the scene where, they're just talking, they're walking on their hike, but all of a sudden they just get separated. Like they call each other, they can't eat each other. And then we move on to the scene where they're stuck in the blizzard. So I've explained all that already from the start, so I'll just skip ahead to what happens after. And so we have this kind of period where aftermath of the disappearance of Kyoko is just everyone questioning like what happened. No one believes Rika because she's saying she just disappeared. She just started talking some nonsense and just disappeared out of nowhere. And then the most interesting part is she comes back. So 2 years later, Kyoko is announced to have come back. I think, so this means Mummy Town? Mira is Mummy, from my memory. Yes, like, does this not look strange sometimes, the eyes being inverted? Just an interesting thing. But she's back, and then they go and take a trip to see Kyoko, and here she is. So she looks very different. If you have a look at her stature, looks like she's aged a lot, right? And she's happy to see her. And what we get from this point is an explanation of everything that had happened. And I find this pretty interesting. And so we flash back to the time when she went out. She talks about hearing the sound of a machine. She talks about seeing the green snow, which no one else saw. And she is suddenly scooped up into the air by something completely dark. Also, I do want to remind, this is rental manga, by the way. This is from the 60s. So I think it's really important to remember like the time period in which this was created, because I think it just elevates the experience so much. Like, this is a work made like 60 years ago, which is insane. It's so cool to be able to experience this in such a refined format of everything. That seems to be actually the theme of my collecting so far, recently. The Ume's reprints, the box set, now all these are reprints, but so sick. But she finds herself in some sort of thing, some sort of contraption where she's rolling around for what feels like days on end. And she finally lands and meets these people. The strange woman who brings her to another person who says that we're like 70,000, whatever, years into the future. Humanity had this all-out war with, I guess, alien creatures, and to preserve themselves, they had to go into like hibernation, and that's all of them here. The reason why they kind of like scooped up Kyoko is because Kyoko apparently has this same sort of power or frequency that these people need to be awake. And they're not people, I guess they're kind of mutants, because they don't have mouths, so they eat a different way, and they communicate via like brain wavelengths, telepathy sorts. And so these two humans, the only ones left, are like, we need you, Kyoko, to wake them up, because there's no one else left who can wake them up. And so Kyoko kind of does her thing where she expresses her wishes to wake them up, uses her like passion or like, I don't know, conviction or whatever to wake them up. Apparently she does, like most of them or all of them. But something happens where when she goes out, she sees one of the girls she's woken up, and the girl actually explains to her that they have been woken up because they are going to be used as slaves. So there's two women that we saw. Their names are Romy and Lip. Well, all they wanted were slaves. And so these tentacles come out of nowhere. And it's revealed that Romy and Lip, they're not humans, they're actually aliens in the sky. So the aliens, from what I'm interpreting, have won this war and have used Kyoko to wake up all of these people so that they can be used for slaves. And so these are the aliens that we see on the back here. So the back is like a compilation of different scenes from both of the stories. You can see the time machine thing, you can see the aliens, the Catwoman, that's Kyoko right there, all that type of stuff. On the front, the girl with the three eyes, all that type of stuff. And we have this eye here. So yeah, back to the story. They reveal themselves. Kyoko manages to somehow get away in that time machine back to the present. And now we come to her end of the story as she explains her to them. But everyone's like, they don't believe her. They treat her like she's like mentally ill and stuff. So they restrain her. And so what that means is that she's escaped, but the aliens threatened her. They will always find her because they've got the time machine too. And so in a very chilling ending scene, we have Kyoko, who suddenly sees snow. And then specifically green snow. So that's not good at all. And we end off the story with her disappearing as everyone comes in rushing to want to know what happened. So I actually really love that story. I find it it's very random that they chose green snow specifically. Don't know what the purpose of that was, like, but it's a very chilling thing to think about. Pun not intended. Having this like kind of signifier that your end is coming with this green snow. But I actually enjoyed that a lot, right? Like, when I'm going to these rental manga, I'm not looking for same thing I have with like horror manga, hibari and stuff. I'm not looking for like critically acclaimed stories. No, I'm just looking for fun. And that was a really interesting read. So I that was my favorite out of the two stories. And yeah, so I just found it really interesting how they did the eyes inverted with the colors. But that is the first story. So next one, let's go to Catwoman. So this one is honestly confusing. I'll do my best to explain, but it's just, especially towards the end, I didn't really understand what's going on. So to go over again, we start off with this scene here where a cat has fallen through the dimensions, a gap in the universe. And remember this face, because it will appear later. But I'll just skip over the first part of the story where we talked about the girl with the three eyes. What's really interesting and what I found, like, I don't know how it works, but as we know, the girl with the three eyes, she was shunned. She couldn't be fed anything from the underground because people just don't like mutations. And she's saying, oh, it's because of her three eyes. And then this lady here, what's her name? Michiko. And the girl's name is Midori. Michiko just gets a stick and stabs her in the eye to like get rid of it, I guess. And so she carries Midori, and they find this entrance that transports them down into the underground city. And then they meet Midori's mum, who was wondering, oh, where did Midori go, you know? And what I find like weird is that Midori wakes up without the eye, so apparently just stabbing it just gets rid of it. Don't know what's going on there. That was kind of weird. But anyways, Midori's happy. She can finally go and eat in the hall with everyone else. There's obviously a food shortage. There's a population issue. you don't have, if you have an artificial sun, can't really produce that much food. The mayor of the town is actually like a teenager, this guy over here, which is interesting. But he looks at Michiko over here, and he is kind of suspicious. He knows she's not from here, as if we refer back to the start of the story, Michiko was just wandering in the snow. Never explained why she was out there, but she's looking for someone. That's all we know. And there is one thing though. The town has an enemy, and that is the cat man, or the cat boy. Every time the mist appears, the cat man will pop up and eat and kill people. As you can see there. And so also, you might wonder why it's called the cat man. It just looks like a big cat. Well, it can speak. That's why. So it's a cat that can speak. But I think, where was it? One of the scenes there, as soon as she sees the cat, she recognizes the cat actually. There's a name. Gamiro. She knows the cat. His name is Gamiro, and is actually her husband. So it's revealed that she and her husband had come from like a different dimension, and that the husband somehow had fallen through a gap in the universe and ended up here. And so she's here to find the husband. She's got like a device that can do that. And they meet, reunite again, and all that. And they plan to go home, but then the mayor and the police have other ideas. They confiscate the dimension transporting device, and then they as you can see, dimension 1, dimension 2, like the 5th dimension, 4th, 6th dimension, whatever, it can transport things to different dimensions pretty much. And they test it out, so they go ahead and use it on Gamiro, and he just disappears. But this is the part I was confused about. Something happens where I guess using the weapon destabilized something in their world, and everyone turns into mice. And they just start rushing out from the city. So the part I'm confused about is, I don't know whether, because from the wording and stuff, I don't know whether it's like a reverting them to their true forms, which are mice, like these people were originally mice, or they were just changed into mice. Something happened with the malfunction of the dimension machine. So I don't know what is the case. Very confusing at the end, but she's fine. It's just the people of the city. And it just ends with her continuing to search for her husband. And so this one, I should have said as well, the subtitle for this is Nishi Takerou Sci-Fi Thriller number 3. And what's really interesting is it keeps the original ending of this. This is an advertisement saying the next story in the sci-fi thriller series number 4 is going to be the girl that turned into a shark. That seems so funny and so interesting, but unfortunately that's not been reprinted. But that just makes me like want to read that even more. Like, come on, a girl that turns into a shark, that's insane. But yeah, and that's the story there. So 167 out of 200. These are some examples of some other of the Mandarake reprints. I don't have any of these, but maybe because mostly I'm unfamiliar with the manga that have been reprinted. But if you know Yoshimi Noboru from Hibari Comics, that era, he got a couple things. I have one coming from him, and I think there's no other manga that I really know. Maybe Shinji Ikegawa, if any of you guys have heard of them. But yeah, so that was the Catwoman Green Snow Falls story from Nishi Takerou. Amazing read, one of a kind books, high quality. I'm loving collecting this series. My wallet is not, but I am loving it. They're extremely heavy too, and they're huge. Some of these books, by the way, like this one is what, 250 pages. Some of these books are 500 pages. They're like huge stories. Maybe, honestly, I'll give you guys a sneak peek of what they look like. Just a bit of sneak peek, because again, there's still some coming. I want to just make it easier, get everything in one video to do a showcase. That showcase will not be going through every story or anything. It's just showing what they look like as a whole. But let me get one or two to show them off. All right, have a look at these. These are some of the coolest book designs I've ever I own in my collection. So I'm just standing up right now because these are huge. Okay. This one I haven't even opened yet. I don't even know the name of this manga, but this is another example. Comes with a pamphlet as well. This one I was talking about. Look at the size of that. It's like a Bible. I think this one is like 500 pages. And as I said before, these reprints, they aren't focused purely on horror, because this one looks to be more, well, from what I understand, it's like a Strange Tales sort of series, and this one looks to be more of like a samurai story of sorts. But it's huge, absolutely huge, a book. And all of them have this like really cool, like all the cover designs, amazing. Got these cool like gold, not all of them have the gold, but they have the gold, but line them all up together and you get like a really cool series of covers, spines. So yeah, that's a little bit of a sneak peek of what they look like. In total, there are 23. Really the most expensive thing I own in my collection. I don't have all 23, but I have a lot. I have a lot of them. And so yeah, that we'll see when that video happens. Still waiting, because some of these had to buy one by one. But yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this Nishi Takerou video. Love Nishi Takerou, and I'm very excited for this new stage of my collecting and reading journey, now getting into rental manga. And I've been focusing a lot more on reading older stuff, so like I do want to get into reading and getting more Hibari lemon comic stuff too. So yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.